let's talk gift goats. Gary Vaynerchuk just dropped his NFT edition, and one of the hottest and most desirable cards on his edition, or NFTs in his edition, is the gift goat. What is the gift goat? The gift goat is 555 goats, and you can buy an individual goat. Each goat entitles the owner of the goat to 6 gifts per year for a 3-year time period that will be delivered physically to you. And the price opening of this is 15 ETH. So right now, ETH is trading at $4,000 per Ethereum. So that's a $60,000 value. Let's just make some very quick generalizations so that we can come up with a logical thought process of how much value we're assigning to each goat. Let's assume that each goat is going to sell for a blended average of 10 ETH. So that'd be $40,000. But I also think that it's very fair to assume that in 3 years from now, ETH will be trading at $10,000 per ETH. This may not happen. I mean, it may be at 200 ETH. Obviously, cryptocurrency is an up and down game. But just kind of like reverse engineering, it's not unreasonable to think that Ethereum could go up to $10,000 per ETH by the time the 3-year time period is over. I mean, I think that's a reasonable starting point. So if we assume it sells for 10 ETH, the math is very simple. You have to get $100,000 of value from the gifts over a 3-year time period. And I think this kind of breaks down into like a logical progression as far as what I would think would be, like a reasonable expectation of value. And you can also do some, like math. It says like money now is worth more than money later. And so I think that the $100,000 mark is like a perfect mark to say for the value of what the card should be giving. Now, here's what's really interesting. I think it's really fun to take a look at what things you could be getting in that range. And so just doing the math, you're going to look at it and you're going to say that this is 18 gifts, 6 gifts per year. So each gift has to be $5,555 or more under this math, which 555 is just like Gary Vaynerchuk's favorite number. So that's interesting. And so let's kind of take a look at what you could get that would be valuable, because these have to be pretty high value items. First thing that kind of comes to mind is like maybe you could do some like limited edition Rolex. Maybe you have like a Vaynerchuk edition Rolex that comes out. I think that could be really interesting. I mean, it'd be super cool if you could get like a Model V Tesla. That would be like in line with Tesla's different models they have, but that might be a little bit of a stretch. What other things do I think could be like ultra high value that Gary could be dropping that would appeal to his audience? I mean, you could do some like limited edition sneakers, but at the end of the day, there aren't that many sneakers that are going to be worth more than $5,000 per pair. Although, I mean, there are certainly some out there that are, and you can find them. But I think an NFT is probably one of the most likely things that I would see Gary dropping. And if the first thing that Gary gave out was a CryptoPunk, that would just be absolutely outrageous. Those things are valued at like $200,000 a pop. If you gave one of those out to everybody, the FOMO would just be off the charts. But it may have to be something that you mail. I'm just trying to think of what other things could be given. I mean, you could get a car, you could get a watch, you could get an NFT, you could get some really fancy shoes, you could get, I'm just trying to think, what else could you get? And he's like super creative. Maybe you get tickets to the Super Bowl. It's like a physical thing that would be reasonable to get. Maybe you get, an entire courtside or an entire section of a basketball game only for like Vaynerchuk fans. But the caveat with that is that's pretty physically, geographically located, right? So you might sell those or trade those or something like that. I don't think he's going to disappoint. I think he's going to pull every string he can to give the best possible gifts. But when you start to get into this price range, it gets pretty interesting because you can do some really creative stuff with your gift giving. I mean, when you're looking at gifts that are averaging over $5,000 a gift, some pretty cool things you can do.